Hey, everybody. The U.S. men's national team, with the expectation that New York City's Matt Freese will be in goal, getting set to play another Gold Cup match a little bit later on. So we'll have a live preview of that game, and especially take a close look at Matt Freese as they meet Saudi Arabia, second match of the Gold Cup. MLS is off until a week from tonight. New York City, they don't play again until June the 28th, but it'll be our first chance to respond to New York City 4, Ronnie Dylan and Atlanta United nothing on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Glenn Crooks. There's Roberto Abramowitz. As we aren't preparing for our radio commentary of the next New York City game, unless you've already studied Montreal and got your notes in, Roberto, for the game that is how many more days away? Well, not too long.
9
days.
9 days.
9 days away. And the team is off. New York City, the team is off, as MLS teams are required to take an 8-day break during this period of time, either for the first part of the window or this part of the window. But the players and coaches don't even go back to the facility until tomorrow for the first time since the win over Atlanta. So they've had a long break. Guys are in for rehab, but that's about it. I would imagine somebody's working out, but they're not required to be there. I guess let's put it that way.
Right. And let them enjoy their vacation because, I mean, they've earned it. It's been a long first half of the season. And, you know, the schedule got very, very tight towards the end there. Then they had a break, and then they had the Atlanta game, and now they have another break. But in general, it's been, you know, a tight sort of schedule there towards the end. And, you know, New York City, you know, what a way to finish or start the second half of the season more accurately.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that a little bit later on, because I think we've got to let's go with what's going on now live, and that's not too far down the road. What time is it? It's 7:03. So at 9:15 they're kicking off. I believe it's 9:15 against Saudi Arabia. That's the U.S. men. So courtesy of Soccer America, I want to read this from Mauricio Pochettino, and this is in regard to the goalkeepers. All right. So there's 3 goalkeepers on the roster: Chris Brady, who's not going to get a sniff, and I think that's right, Matt Turner, and Matt Freese. So here's what he said about Turner, and this is yesterday. I think we all know Matt Turner, how good he is, an experienced player, but it's a really tough moment for him. After 1 year, he didn't play too much. I think it's a good opportunity to take some of the pressure off of him and give an opportunity to another keeper to show it's possible to fight for a place on the World Cup. And then about Matt Freese, and for those of you who are watching and not just listening, you can read along with me. The opportunity for Matt Freese is an opportunity that he deserves because he's played well in his club. And, of course, he's played in 2 games now, and it's an opportunity for Matt Freese to see how he deals with the pressure to be the number 1 in the national team. Wow.
That's pretty good.
That's serious consideration.
He's getting a chance, and he's deserved it. He earned it. Now, the team has to see how he can play. Pochettino has to see how he can play. And right now, the sample size is not very good, right? I mean, he played 1 game, and it was a 5-0 whitewashing of Trinidad and Tobago. And Trinidad had all of 3 shots and only 2 on target, and none of them you could classify as difficult. So it's really hard to judge what he can do. You know, he organized his defense well, I guess. He did all the right things. Didn't allow a goal, which is always great. And but against Saudi Arabia, which is, I think, the 58th team in the world compared to the U.S., which has now dropped out of the top 20, I believe. Let me see where they are here.
Well,
It's hard to
but
say.
the point is, but Freese has played in 2 games, so he played one of the international friendlies, and 2 goals got past him. But we've reviewed.
You can't blame him for either of those. Yeah,
I'm not blaming him. I'm saying he's played in 2 games, not just the one that you're referring to. So this will be the 3rd look for Pochettino, and I don't think I think it's been pretty difficult to evaluate the performance in either of the first 2 games, like a full evaluation, because it just he hasn't really been able to see what he can do.
And he deserves a chance if he makes a mistake. This is the sort of chance that I'm looking for. That if he makes a mistake, that he shouldn't be looking towards the bench to see, if Turner is warming up. And I don't mean that.
I'm sure you don't mean that literally, because that's not going to happen.
Literally, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Because it's not like basketball or anything else. But he should be able to be allowed to make a mistake and then come back from that mistake if that happens. I mean, we've seen Turner make mistakes and get more opportunities. So this should be a really good run for Matt Freese.
Now, the Saudi Arabia team, pretty interesting. So first of all, the Saudis lost to Australia with Aidan O'Neill, New York City's midfielder. Australia has advanced and qualified for the World Cup. Saudi now has to go through a playoff process in Asia. So they're not, they're still fighting. And they only have 4 players on their entire roster who play outside of the Saudi league. So everybody's a domestic player with the exception of 4 guys. And but they've got this guy, Hervé Renard, as their head coach. I mean, he's most famous for beating Argentina in Qatar at the 22 World Cup, that first game. I mean, that was wild. I happened to be there, and I happened to be in the streets and not at the game. And this explosion of Saudis that came out of this, well, it wasn't a bar because there's no alcohol served, but they just came out of this where the game was being played, and it was a pretty remarkable moment for the country, and he was part of it. But he's an interesting guy, man. This Renard, he's coached Zambia, Ivory Coast, Morocco, and the French women. That was his previous job, and now he's got Saudi Arabia for a second stint.
Yeah.
So that's what they've got to put up with here.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, Saudi Arabia is a 50. Let me go back to
58
where they were. The United States is like 15th or 16th. And Saudi Arabia is like
I just got 50. It in front of me. Yeah, 16 to 58.
Yeah, so that is supposedly the balance. Now, Saudi Arabia is missing a couple of players. They're not exactly with their best roster either, including star Salem Al-Daswari. He's out, and then he's the one who scored the goal against Argentina, and they're also missing a key midfielder in Mohamed Kano. So they gave 3 U23 players the start against Haiti. And they wound up winning that game by a score of 1-0. So an important game for the U.S. here, as they win here and then they're qualified to the next round. But what they're trying to avoid is finishing second, because if they finish second, Mexico has won their first 2 games. They haven't looked really impressive, mind you. They barely beat Suriname last night. Well, it was 3-0 at the end, And in their first game, they suffered against the Dominican Republic and beat them by a score of only 3-2. You would expect Mexico to handle those quality opponents a little bit easier. They didn't. And so you would still, even though it's Mexico, and when they play against the United States, they elevate. So if Mexico winds up winning its group, it plays the second place finisher in the USA's group. So you basically want to be able to avoid that cross. So A and D play each other.
Well, I want to see, Alonso Martinez play against the U.S., man. That's what I want to see. Costa Rica, U.S. That's the game.
Alonso had a goal in his first appearance, did not score in his second appearance.
But he does have 2 goals during the international break, Roberto. And Shane, if you could cue this up. So Costa Rica beat the Dominican Republic 2-1 to advance to the quarterfinals. So Costa Rica is through no matter what. And we just don't know who they're going to play yet. And Martinez didn't score there, but he scored against the Bahamas and Suriname. The Bahamas was a friendly. It was 8-0. It was a rout, but he scored the game winner. He scored the first goal. And then Suriname, it was a 2-1 result. So that's obviously an important goal. But here's the 2 goals, Roberto.
There you go.
Smaller CONCACAF nations. It's a much deeper region now, but this is fed through. This is a chance. This is the opening goal. Costa Rica cruise into the lead in the 20th minute, and it's tucked away by Alonso Martinez. Transition though, but they're on the attack here with Brandon Aguilera, and Aguilera right across the face, and it sneaks in, and Costa Rica carved through Suriname. Alonso Martinez takes the credit.
Look at the goalkeeper's face. Fantastic. But I love near post darting runs, just a little redirect, and that's
all you need.
That's a great goal, man.
Yeah. And he is just so dangerous. And if he plays against the United States, that's, the U.S. center backs are going to have to be very, very careful and mindful of him, because he's a handful.
Now, a couple of other Gold Cup things I wanted to mention. El Salvador Curacao, I thought this was interesting, drew a larger crowd at PayPal Park than U.S. Trinidad. So, there's a lot of discussion about the attendance both at the Gold Cup and at the Club World Cup. For me, Roberto, when I've watched, there's obviously there have been some games. I can't remember who the two countries were that were in Orlando, and there were like 5 people in the stands. Yeah, I understand, but it was these two countries that don't have a large traveling group. They don't have they don't have large populations in that area. So, but there's been some pretty decent crowds, I think,
in some places. But then again, for instance, Mexico played last night in Dallas, or Arlington, Texas, to be exact. They only drew 34,000 people. Now you'd say, "Wow, that's a pretty decent crowd," and just in general. Not for Mexico. I mean, Mexico used to sell out AT&T Stadium, which holds over 85,000. You can get 90,000 in there, depending how you squeeze. You can get over 100,000. Jerry Jones once did that for a Cowboys game. He swore he'll never do it again, but because it was just too crowded. But Mexico regularly gets 80,000. And they didn't. They just got 34,000 for an official game. The U.S., I don't know what their PayPal Park number was. Was it like 12,000 or something?
Yeah, 12 something. 12 and change.
And that place holds 18. And they're not going to sell out Austin tonight. Tickets, tons of tickets available. Cheapest ones somewhere in the vicinity of $100. What is CONCACAF doing?
What?
I didn't know that. $100 is the cheapest ticket to get in right now. But that's why it's empty. That's a good reason. That's a part of the reason. And the same thing happened.
What the hell is going on?
Well, that's what they're doing. The prices are outrageous for these games.
I don't know. Guatemala beat Jamaica, Roberto, in Group C, which was a massive upset. That's Guatemala. If they get through to the knockout stage or the quarterfinals, it's 8 teams advance. That's going to be pretty wild in the Gold Cup. And then Canada routed Honduras as expected. One cute little story here, I think. Nico Sugar, who scored the opening goal and is a pretty bright, has a bright future with the team. He was a ball boy at BC Place in 2019 in a Nations League match for Canada. I love the ball boy stories, right?
Yeah.
Who was it? John Tolkien for the Red Bulls, and who you hear about these ball boy stories. It's pretty fun.
I love it. I mean, can you imagine being on the side of the field, making sure everybody gets a ball whenever, and then, but you're looking at all these players, and then 10 years later, you're on the field or less. That's outrageous. It's fantastic. That's all those things are inspirational. They really, really are. I love it.
And then you have Jesse Marsh, who's being investigated. He's being investigated because of the disciplinary committee of CONCACAF. All right. So he wasn't there for Canada's 6-0 win. He had to watch the game from wherever because he had been suspended.
He's in the press box or one of those boxes.
You can't, and you're not supposed to have communication, which I think is probably part of what's going on here. But he was ejected in the game against the U.S., that third place game back in Nations League in March. And then they added a second game. It was one game. They added a second game because he was so disrespectful to the match officials after the game. And now the committee is reviewing all available evidence. I'm reading from their press release, including official reports detailing that the CSA, that's the Canadian Soccer Association, and its head coach disregarded regulations applicable to suspended match officials. So I'm sure he snuck it. He did the Bobby Valentine, put the sunglasses and a fake nose on and came back into the dugout, and also used offensive language towards CONCACAF match officials.
Not surprising. I've got an update for you. Seattle had cut the lead against Atletico Madrid 2-1, but Atletico Madrid just scored again. Pablo Barrios scored. So it's 3-1 in the 57th minute right now.
No, that's
for Atletico Madrid. Albert Rusnak had cut the advantage to 2-1. Alex Witzel and Pablo Barrios. So Barrios has got 2 goals for Atletico Madrid.
Okay, well, I was going to get to the Club World Cup, so you beat me to it. Yes, but that's good that we are live. So let's make sure we give the MLS teams their plaudits. Although Seattle will likely be eliminated from advancing with that loss, but I mean it won't be. I don't think it'll be a done deal mathematically, but that's going to make it tough for them. They've got the PSG Botafogo in a later match too in the Club World Cup. I'm almost there. I think I am at the Club World Cup. So Jesse Marsh, we'll see what happens there. I don't think there are any drones involved, but if there were, that would even be better. You know what I'm saying? What the hell goes on in Canada? John Herdman, bumping Nick Cushing. When you go north of the border, what the hell happens to you up there?
I have no idea. But one of the things that I've seen about Jesse Marsh as well is that he made a comment basically saying that he never wants to coach the U.S. national team.
Oh,
it was something in that realm.
Well, he's trolling.
I don't know if you follow WWE.
No.
Okay, I don't know if you follow WWE.
No.
But basically, well, here comes a term from there that applies to the situation.
All right.
He's just gone full heel. He just absolutely has gone full heel.
How does that apply in WWE? I don't know what it means.
It's when you turn from a baby face, meaning a good guy, to a full heel, which is a bad guy.
Oh, wow.
And so he's gone all Paul Heyman on the U.S. national team.
I don't know what that means either, but that's okay.
The people out there will know. Trust me that the people will know. So put up anything that they put up there based on that. So anyway.
But he also did you see how he trolled the U.S. men's national team? Because he put out this quote and Christian Pulisic, where he put out this quote, no one came close to asking for time off on my team.
As I'm telling you, he's gone full heel. He's trying to, for there to be division within the U.S. national team, and he's all in. And that
makes it
at the end of the day, it's going to make for a much better rivalry for the U.S. and Canada. It is going to absolutely make for a much better rivalry. There's going to be pushing and shoving. There's going to be stuff after the whistle. It's going to get intense.
Well,
it's going to get intense.
He did the same thing with Red Bulls against New York City. So
yeah, he did.
Not unexpected. It's us against the world. That's the way. And Jesse's had a lot of success with getting his teams to play in that manner. All right, Club World Cup. So you had Seattle trails 3-1 Atleti, 60th minute. That game is ongoing. 2 games have been completed. And how about Inter Miami? Lionel Messi, what a free kick goal. Scores his goal about 25 yards straight away, just upper corner, unbelievable.
Just gorgeous.
It was really something else. And so he gets the game winner. And Messi has now, let me look this up, make sure I have this exactly right. But Messi now has 51 goals in 60 appearances for Miami, all competitions. That's freaking crazy, man. Right?
Yeah, that is it's fantastic.
It's
this is what they brought him in for.
Well,
now he's given MLS, right? He's given MLS a lot more credibility than they had. So let's understand who Porto is. Porto is one of the top teams in Portugal. They finished in 3rd place in their league. They won 22 out of 34 games last year. This is a team that has qualified for Europa League. The only reason they didn't qualify for Champions League because only 2 teams go from Portugal as opposed to 5 in England. All right. So this is a really, really good team. Every player, they have 27 players on their roster. 26 of them would be designated players within the United States.
Look, I didn't watch the game. I don't know a lot about Porto, but that's quite a statement, Roberto. And I would just say off the top of me head that I think you're freaking crazy. It can't be. That can't be. That can't be.
What part can't be?
26 designated players on a roster for Porto? Come on, man.
For MLS, yes.
Nah, I don't believe that.
Every player.
But I don't know. I don't know the players, so I shouldn't
hold on.
say.
Because I looked this up on Transfer Market. So what I'm basing this on, and I want to give the credit or an asterisk or whatever. I'm basing it on the Transfer Market valuations of players, of what they would cost or what they're worth. Every one of the players was worth over $1 million, and there were like 5 or 6 different players, and I don't have it in front of me right now. There were 5 or 6 different players that were worth over 10 million. And it wasn't dollars, it was euros. It was rather pounds. And so I'm telling you,
no, that's
26 out of the 27 players were worth over £1 million. All right. And so you want to do the math. Every one of those players, the only way they get in is either they're a designated player or they're bought down by Gam and Tam. But they're designated players as it is. So it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary what Miami pulled off.
I think you're overstating it. But again,
I'm not, Glenn. I
know you did research and all that. We got to watch the player. I don't care what they're worth. I want to watch the players. You're calling them designated players? So their right central defender is a designated player.
In this league, based on what he earns, yes. In MLS, based on what he earns for Porto, he would be a designated player. You would have to give him a DP.
All right, now I'm following you. You're saying what they earn puts them in designated player status, but
yes.
that doesn't mean that MLS. That doesn't mean that Pat Noonan at Cincinnati and Chris Albright are going to go after 26 of these players to sign them as designated.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know why you understood that. All I'm saying is that
that's what it sounds like. No, that's what it sounds like.
Okay, no, but mathematically, what I'm saying, and let people chime in here.
No, you don't have to explain anymore. Please don't explain it again. You're saying what they're worth would make them DPs based on Transfer Market's worth.
Yes.
I'm saying, but they're not DP level players. Probably there's not 26 DP level players on Porto. I'm saying that's crazy, but without knowing the team. That's all. That level, DP level. I don't care what they're making there. I'm talking about DP level. You're saying
I don't understand what DP level means, then, Glenn. As far as you're concerned, because we had a lot of DPs here who weren't worth a dime.
How good they are. That's what I'm talking. You're talking about there's 26 players. There's 30 teams in MLS. You're saying that almost pretty much one player could go to each MLS team and sign a DP contract.
If they were to be paid what they're getting paid at Porto or what they're worth at Porto, yes, that's the only way you get them.
Okay.
That's the only way you get them. I'm not saying that New York City is going to go on for a central defender from Porto and have to pay him DP money, but if they wanted him, they probably would have to.
All right. I understand now. I think, and we have to stop this because we're just going to keep going around and around and around. First time this is important. First time an MLS team has ever beaten a European side in a sanctioned competition. That sounds pretty big. You know.
They don't cross very often, but yes.
And Miami started 3 homegrown players.
Yes, they did, including Kramaski, who's an American. Who else did they?
Noah Allen.
Yeah, Noah Allen. I love Noah Allen, by the way. I want a Noah Allen on my team, any team that I'm on. That kid is just great. Wherever you need to put him, he's there and he balls out. He really does.
I agree. And then MetLife Stadium hosted a game too today, which I was originally planning to go to. I did not due to some circumstances, but Orlando City fans can watch Facundo Torres play for Palmeiras today. Palmeiras beat Al Ahly 2-0.
Did they get a decent crowd? I know there's a lot of Palmeiras fans here in New York. They've been everywhere. They invaded the Brooklyn Bridge, a whole bunch of places.
No, there was a massive Palmeiras gathering behind one of the goals. It was massive. And outside of that, I'm not sure how many
I don't know how many people were at the Inter Miami game because that was held in Atlanta. But what's disappointing to see is that the best seats in the house always seem to be empty. And then once you get into the corners and behind the goals and further up, those areas seem to be more highly populated. It's the outrageous amount of money that they're charging for tickets for some of these things. So, but it sounded like they had a really good crowd for that game. I don't, it might have been 30 to 40. I really don't know. There was definitely a hell of a lot more than the 22 that was there for the first game of the CWC.
Now you've got Juventus, Roberto, in the Club World Cup Group G. They are tied with Man City, each on 3 points. Juventus actually is number one on goal differential. They're a +5, and City so far is just +2. But the story out of Juventus, did you see that Juventus was invited to the White House? Oh,
yes, they've and according to Tim Weah and Weston McKennie, they basically volunteered army style.
Well, here's what
that means, right?
Weah's exact quote is, "They told us that we have to go, and I had no choice but to do it." So here's the Grand Poobah, Donald Trump, starts talking about transgender athletes, and we know that's one of his missions. There are so many more important things in the world than making sure a transgender athlete doesn't compete with the men. Come on, man.
And there are like 10 of them basically for the entire country.
Exactly. So it's
350 million people. But yes, go on.
It's a BS agenda from the Grand Poobah. So he turns to Tim Weah and Weston McKennie because I guess somebody told him, "Here, you're Americans." 2 black men, by the way, and we'll get to that in a second. He turns to them and goes, "Could a woman make your team, fellas? Tell me, you think?" And then McKennie and Weah were behind him and gave no response. Nothing. They said nothing. Good for them. Then he looks over his other shoulder, and that's where the general manager is, Damian Comoli. And he goes, "What do you think?" And the GM, this is a great answer. He says, "We have a very good women's team," as Juventus won their 6th consecutive Serie A title on the women's side. And that's how he responded to him. These, I'm telling you, uncomfortable situations handled very well. Weston McKennie.
I mean, how he asked that question. Do you remember he was an owner of a professional franchise? He was the owner of the New Jersey Generals of the USFL. That played at Giant Stadium, right? Had Herschel Walker. He is a professional sports team owner. How do you ask that question?
Because he's just who he is, I guess. Now, as we mentioned, Weston McKennie and Tim Weah are both African American gentlemen. And here's McKennie, playing in Germany, was. He was interviewed by a German publication, Sport Bild, B-I-L-D. And every now and then we'll see things from them in social media and have to get it translated and stuff. So put this one up, Shane. So first of all, this is yesterday. That's McKennie looking at our dear president. So there's a bit of disdain there, right? Well, this article
it looks that way.
The article was published in 2020 during the pandemic. During George Floyd, and you can, again, read along. I don't think that Trump, this is the quote from McKennie, and this is Weston McKennie talking. "I don't think that Trump is the right one for the job as president. I stand by these words. I believe he doesn't understand the responsibility he has for the entire country. I think he's ignorant. I don't support him a bit. I don't think he's a man to stand by his word. In my eyes, you can call him racist." So this is after all the different things that were going on in 2020.
But he didn't say that yesterday, right? When was that?
No, I said that those are published remarks from 2020 in Bild.
Okay,
2020 German publication. Wow. Yeah,
thank God that the
pictures from yesterday.
White House didn't do any research or wouldn't know how to do any research and bring that up somehow.
The picture was from yesterday. The quote was from 2020, but I think it's applicable to a manner when just his face looking at the Grand Poobah. All right. All right, let's get off of that. It seems like we venture into politics every now and then on a good old NYCFC Views Live. I'm sorry that I sometimes insert that, Roberto, but
it's all good. You should see my feed.
Well, soccer and politics, we can't escape it. As Juventus reluctly, at least a couple of players reluctantly went to the White House yesterday. All right.
Yeah, but politics and sports have always been intertwined. So it's for people to say that they shouldn't mix. They've always mixed.
Well, remember the president used to throw out the first, there'd be a game wherever in baseball on the opening day, and they would throw out a ball.
George Bush especially. I mean, everybody pretty much did it.
Yeah.
It was a great, George Bush owned the baseball team.
Well, I don't think there were politics really abounding when New York City beat Atlanta United 4-0. I don't think there was any political persuasion there. And we did say MLS is off until next week. There'll be a bunch of games, I think, next Wednesday night or Thursday night. I really don't have it in front of me. Players for the New York City Football Club, they'll be at the training facility for the first time since the win over Atlanta tomorrow. And so it's been a true international break for the Club World Cup and the Gold Cup. So let's go here. Tomás Romero, show that photo. This is post-game. There he is. Why is he so happy? The youngest player in club history to get a shutout, 4-0. And he didn't have to come up with too much. Boy, New York City played really well in this one. But at 24 years old, he's the youngest, Roberto.
Wow. So I always thought Barraza was, when that came up, and I should have looked it up to see how old Barraza is, but I mean, Barraza went 4 years to Marquette. So, it's not like the NBA where it's one and done and then you're a pro.
Yeah.
So, because Barraza had shutouts for New York City. His debut was a shutout against
Campeones Cup.
Yeah, Atlas.
Yeah. So that's Romero. And then on the flip side, Maxi Morales at 38 became the oldest player in club history to score a regular season goal. And here it was, the call on the English radio side with myself and Matty Lawrence.
To the body by the Serbian Tanasijevic to find Martins, sends it deep. Wolf giving chase, and the ball played back by Lennon to Guzan, back to Lennon. New York City pressures. Lennon gives it away to Wolf. Now it's New York City with Morales. It's 1-0 New York City. The turnover by Atlanta United. Hannes Wolf did well to find Maxi Morales, the 38-year-old Argentinian, with his second goal of the season. And New York City, just before the interval, takes the 1-0 lead on Atlanta United.
Well, as I was saying, if anybody's going to score, it's going to be Atlanta United, Glenn. But little did I know that Atlanta United were going to pass the ball back to NYCFC in their own penalty area. Brooks Lennon passes the ball to Hannes Wolf, who's on the top of the 18-yard box. Hannes Wolf just lays it into Maxi Morales, who's totally unopposed. The easiest assist of his life. And then Brad Guzan says, here you go, here's a massive passageway at my near post. Just clip it into the near post area. And Maxi Morales gives him the eyes and just clips it into that massive gaping hole at the near post.
The number of keepers that are getting beat at the near post because they're anticipating the shot to the back. There, Guzan, there was another angle of it, which we didn't see there, where Guzan actually took like a little short step to his left and was unbalanced and couldn't cover the near post. So and what the players do is they open up their hips to make it look like they're going to go like Hannes Wolf. We're going to see that goal in a minute where he just slotted it past Guzan a little bit later on. So Guzan was all over the place. Like, I got to be near post, I got to be back post. But
how bad is Atlanta's defense? I mean, I like Brooks Lennon. That was just horrific. That was horrific. I mean, there was like no pressure. It's a brain fart when it's nothing. The game is going okay for Atlanta, and all of a sudden they turn into Santa Claus.
Well, he had a poor game overall because on one of the Wolf goals, that one that he slot to the back post, and we're going to see it in a moment with Pascal Janssen commenting about Hannes Wolf, but he just gave him too much space. He wasn't tight on him. He didn't close him down to a level where he could get any sort of alteration on the shot. So
It just goes to show, Glenn. Okay, so Atlanta is a team that spends a lot of money, right? They go out and spend money. Spending money isn't the end all in MLS. It just isn't. You've seen too many teams, Toronto, now Atlanta again, that spend a lot and just don't spend it well. They just don't seem to be able to get all the right players to fit and to pull together. It's just really, really weird. And you look at New York City and they don't want to spend a lot of money, but, be as it may, there seems to be a lot more cohesion in New York City than Atlanta. And they haven't spent, aside from Aiden O'Neill, I haven't spent a dime.
And what's odd there is that's really Ronnie Dyla's forte, is man management and chemistry and motivation. Honestly, that's here with New York City. Nick Cushing did the tactics, and Ronnie, he got them together. He held them together through bad times, the good times. Don't get too high, don't get too low, and he was a master at that.
Does he need to bring Nick back? Does he have to try to convince Efrain Juarez to come back?
I don't know. I don't know. He has one of his boys that has been with him when he was in the UAE and also in Belgium. So he's got. I'm not familiar with his assistants, but there's two actually that have been with him in his last couple of stops. So at least he has somebody. So New York City's in 7th place, Roberto, and they really secured the game. Roberto Abramowitz now and Ariel Hudas with the Bakrar goal. Holy smokes, Monza Bakrar, right? And it was right after he had looked
missed
like
a sitter. We were talking about that. We're literally talking about that. And then all of a sudden, you're going to hear how quickly this all of a sudden changes when we start realizing what the heck is going on here.
It was a quick change. Here we go.
Oh, yes, it was.
Parecía que tenía también el segundo poste despejado.
Sí.
La verdad, pero lo terminó tratando de ir al primer poste y adivinó muy bien Brad Guzan. Aquí está otra vez New York City insistiendo. ¡Qué gol! ¡Qué gol! ¡Qué gol! ¡Gol! ¡Qué manera de desquitarse de Montse Bakrar! Y estamos 2-0. ¡Qué gol!
Bueno, así, de esta manera lo queremos a Bakrar, con bronca, mordiéndose la boca al marcar, quitarse frustraciones de encima, seguramente muchas, pero así es como tiene que jugar, no dando opciones a la defensa rival, no dando opciones al arquero, marcando un golazo como el que acaba de hacer. Un golazo. Montse Bakrar.
No question. That's right, Ariel. Golazo. Yeah, so it was just a wonderful, wonderful finish and timely and kind of made up for what had happened just moments before. And so well done, Roberto. And now it's 2-0. And then sealing the whole thing. And these goals were scored so from Maxi's goal, and now you're going to see while Pascal is speaking, but you're going to see Hannes Wolf goals. These goals all occurred within 15 minutes, connecting the first half of the second half. So crazy. So Bakrar, back-to-back braces. And remember the struggles of Bakrar. Over 700 minutes without a goal. Wolf, over 700 minutes without a goal. And oftentimes, we've talked about it in the commentary, we've talked about it here, you and I, of the chances that he just didn't take that were there in front of him. And Pascal Janssen addressed that. And this is after Hannes Wolf with his second consecutive brace. And he now is tied for the team lead with goals with Alonso Martinez with 8. So here's Pascal postgame.
Interesting, because that is the result until now of the progress we made as a team. He had his moments where we were all thinking, how could you miss this moment, or why are you not there? But it's all about being consistent in your behavior, because you have to be on the spots where you need to be, where you're expected to be in certain plays. And today was a good example. He was at the right moment, in the right spot, and was very clinical in his finish. So that builds confidence for the team in general, but also for the individual player, because he starts to feel and understand more about the things that we discuss in training, in the video analysis, and making sure that he has to maintain that discipline in order to become successful. So if he does that, and I have no concern that he will not, I think he can have a good season overall. But like I said to your colleague just now, if we have the idea to slow down for even a second or a minute, that is something that we have to be on top of every day. And that is my job. And that is the growth within the squad. And we're playing just one game after the mid part of the season. So this is a good reference for us to move forward.
All right, the gaffer post game on Hannes Wolf. I like the way he put that. I wrote, how could you miss that moment? You know, he said there were, and that's the way we felt too. It's like these moments, that goal, that was such a quick release with the right foot to beat Guzan. That was a wonderful strike.
And that's what he had not been doing. What were we talking about at the end of last year and for a good part of this year? Either we talked about it privately or we talked about it on the radio, or we talked about it here. And that is his hesitation to actually pull the trigger, to try to get the perfect shot. And that has been a big, big issue. And he seems now to have gotten out of that. And was that one of the comparisons that I was making with Mackey Sasser when he had the yips? Almost. Remember that? We were talking about that.
I do. I don't remember if that was Hannes Wolf. That might have been Baccarat.
I think that was more
Baccarat. Yeah, I think
that was not pulling the trigger when you had a chance. Either not feeling confident enough in yourself, or looking for a better option when there are no better options at that point, right? You're the best option, and he had to be a little bit more selfish and go for those, and those would open up opportunities even if he didn't make it, because now you're afraid of it, that he's going to do that. And now once you're scouting him, like Montreal's got to scout him now, right? And what are they looking at? They can't look at the Hannes Wolf from the first 10 games or from the first time that they played him. They look at now the Hannes Wolf that's played for the last few games, and now you're looking at him and going, well, he could shoot just, on his first try. You can't just wait for him to make a move or just wait on him, because now you're looking at it from a different perspective. This is going to help him. Well,
and I think in terms of, if I'm opposition analyst, he used to always be on the right side, cut into his left, and that he's a drive inside player. He's not an end line service player. He's not. I mean,
right.
We've seen that rarely. So here he is again. Now he's on the left side. Now he's coming to the inside. He has to use his right foot. So I like that, because you've got Julian Fernandez on one side. You've got, so the lineup is really stabilizing now. You've got Baccarat, whose confidence has to have soared with that goal. So now you have a backup to Alonso Martinez, who you can either bring in for Martinez or, go to twin strikers, however you want to, you're down a goal or you're level and you need to win, whatever it might be. So it just adds to the variety. And I think Agustin Ojeda put in a good shift too. I was very happy with the way he played in that match. And he's coming close. He still hasn't scored in, it seems like forever, but he's close. And he was influential,
Yeah, and that's what you want him to be. These guys have talent. It's just a matter of trusting their talent and being aggressive, not being passive. If they go, try to beat somebody one-on-one, they don't beat them, or they don't beat them. That's part of the deal. So you go and you keep on trying. You try different things. So you would hope that, this showed a lot of players, showed themselves what they can do, what they're capable of doing. And then on the other end, okay, I mean, how solid was that defensively for New York City?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, a guy that I've been critical of, and I wondered if he had the mental fortitude to really get it done, is Burke Risa. And his level of play, and look, it didn't happen last year, in my estimation. I thought he did well at the end when he came in the last 8 games of 2023, even though New York City didn't qualify. Remember, they had 5 clean sheets in their last 8 games. He was a big part of that.
Yeah.
But then last year, and injuries have played a role, but I thought he was soft. I thought he was soft. I'll tell you what, he hasn't been soft recently.
No.
And now he's and flexibility. You can put him at left back. You could put him at left central defense at a back 3. You could put him at left central defense at a back 4. And Thiago Martins, since he's finished his preseason, which unfortunately was about 5 games into the regular season because he didn't play, in the months of January, February, getting ready for this, he's been exceptional. And then you got the old Tavon Gray, Micha Ilinic thing going on at right back. Although now it's the Micha Tavon Strahinja game. Panasijevic has started. He started at right back.
Yeah.
After coming in for Gray and then pushes Gray out of the 11 for this game. So
message to Gray.
No question. So this is maybe Jamaica could have used Gray instead of leaving him back home because New York City didn't use him either. And by the way, and neither did. So Gio Reyna is not with the U.S. men's national team at the Gold Cup and is not being played by Borussia. Now we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But Dortmund in their first Club World Cup game, he didn't get off the bench.
He did not.
Unbelievable, man.
And he's leaving there too. So this is his last hurrah with Borussia Dortmund. Because
where's he going?
They told his agent, go find another team.
Well, I heard that, but what if there are no takers? You can't just go. You got to have takers.
Well, somebody will take him for some money.
All right.
Maybe he comes back to MLS. I mean, he needs to play. He can't do this. He's got to find a coach, a system, a league where he can become that, I'll say elite player because I think he's got elite talent. But it needs to be massaged, right? And he needs to be in the right situation with the right coach that's going to say the right things to him. It's the mental aspect of the game, right? The Ronnie Dylas, as you were saying. Somebody else does the tactics. He does the make sure the team is ready and united and everybody is in the proper mental space and all of that. And he really needs that. He really, really needs that. Well, so I don't think it's going to be Dortmund.
I've seen MLS teams listed, that rumor. And I don't think his dad, Gio Reyna's dad, will allow him to come back to MLS. I think he'll
probably not. But I mean, and look, he's good enough to play for basically any team in the Bundesliga except maybe 2. He can play for basically any team in Spain except for 3. He can play in Italy, where United States players are seeing great success. So, it didn't work out for him in Nottingham Forest when he went there on loan, and he played himself out of that team. So, he needs to get his act together and find the right place for him to be able to thrive. Because the U.S. national team needs Gio Reyna to be in his best form come summer 2026. They're a better team when he's playing and he's playing well.
All right. Before we leave, get to kicking it around. So the Hannes Wolf kudos is he's got 3 career braces, Roberto, and they're all this year. Then back to back. So down in Nashville, 2-2, Hannes Wolf. Then he gets the 2 in this past game against Atlanta, and 2 of his 3 braces are against Atlanta. Unfortunately, the one down there in good old Georgia was in that losing cause in that really wild, awful game, awful fourth. Well, we talked about Thiago Martins, how exceptionally it's been. He was not on that evening, but again, he's worked his way. I'll tell you, from April on, he's been very, very, very good, and New York City has to hope.
How interesting is this, Glenn? We spoke about the importance of Keaton Parks and how key he is, and you saw in the previous game how he helped unlock the defenses to assist goals, and New York City was able to win, right? And now you don't have him, yet other people managed to step up, and New York City has its best offensive showing since the 5-1 game against the Red Bulls in Sports Illustrated Stadium last year.
Well, they scored the goals, so you're right. But the first half was pretty poor.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm saying that was a more complete game, the Red Bull game. I mean, that was like a complete game, where it was pretty much good from start to finish. So I don't think this was an equal performance, but goals scored, that's what counts. And I'm with you, Roberto.
There's a question there. Did Keaton go under the knife? As far as we know, he's not.
No, not yet anyway. No, that's not. He has not. There is a period of time right now where there's a lot of they're going through treatment and different kind of rehab things to try to see if this thing will respond, and that's over a 2 or 3 week period. Pascal Janssen has made that pretty clear that it's in the coming weeks, and during this period of time they're going to decide what happens next. I haven't heard that surgery is an option, but maybe it is.
Maybe it is. Maybe far down the road, or something that they don't really want to do, and they're hoping that things do work out. But that's going to be something that eventually will have to be considered if he doesn't get better. Which you hope he doesn't. That with rest and proper treatment, whatever ails his feet will work.
Well, it's been a long break, so hopefully things have. We've seen a lot of pictures of Keaton. He's smiling. So, during the break, the Kit Man had a birthday. So on Instagram, a lot of the team was celebrating, and Keaton was there, and he looked all happy. So there you go. It's our Kit
I saw
Man.
that. I'm looking on the U.S. Twitter.
Okay. Do we have a
lineup yet? And we don't have a lineup yet.
All right. We'll stay on it a few more minutes. Hopefully, we'll get one of those. Let's kick it around, Roberto.
All right.
So, Roberto, sticking with MLS a little bit, Supporter Shield, Philadelphia, number 1, Vancouver, number 2. So I wanted to play this Vanni Sartini. If our viewers, listeners don't know, he's the former Vancouver Whitecaps coach. He is charismatic is a mild way to put it. And so I had about an hour-long chat with him for SiriusXM that ran this week and now it's available on the app if you're a SiriusXM subscriber. But it was all this U.S. men's national team, Donovan, Tim Howard, Alexi Lawless, all these different parties getting involved. Part of it reaction to Christian Pulisic not being there. Some of it reaction just to that they don't show that they care enough, and all these different things. So I asked Vanni Sartini about that. So just as a lead-in, here's a guy from Florence, Italy, working class. He is. It's out there. He is a pronounced socialist. He is like the group comes before the individual. The group supports the individual, and that's the way he lives his life. That's the way he coaches his teams. So I wondered what he thought of the U.S. men's national team and the criticism from the alumni, because that's where we're really hearing a lot of it. Here's what he said. Personally come from a working class background, and you've identified your teams in that manner too, that's the way you want them to go about it. So perhaps the irony at this point, even though there's been one positive Gold Cup result for the U.S., is that lack of mentality like that has come under some scrutiny, especially by former U.S. men's national team players who that's one of the reasons they were able to do some things that they did.
Yeah, I don't know, because, you need to be in a team to be within the team to understand what is the real mentality of the team, how do they work. And I don't think that a lot of those former U.S. players are doing a good service to the national team. I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest that because they're the one that they define a golden generation, creating the expectation very high. And then when one result is not good, they're going down to bashing them. So I think it's a very superficial approach, and I think the approach should be more comprehensive and to be, I would say, really understanding who is your player pool, what are your results, which is the way that you get the result. Gotta be honest, I think that is really bad the way that they treated Greg Berhalter last year. I think they didn't make into the group of the Copa America only because we got sent off, and if not, they would have gone quarterfinal and maybe
Right.
more. And that for that one game, you really put in the trash the work of years that did very well. So I think that it's too emotional. The analysis it's too emotional. The analysis on the performance of U.S. soccer, I would say, especially from former player, that should be the one that are the guys that bring the I would say the expertise.
All right, Roberto, your response?
Well, I mean, I really liked him. I always liked him. So I get what I get what he's saying. The thing is, with everybody's chiming in on this, it's been crazy, and Pochettino being one of them. That has sort of like defended his position about what the team needed. So, and I understand Pochettino saying, no, you can't come in just for 2 exhibition games and then blow us off for the Gold Cup. Either you come in and you play, or you don't come in and you play. So I fully get that. But I'm hoping, Glenn, that by the time 2026 arrives, or even way before that, the next time the U.S. camp, it'll be talked about. And once that's over and he plays, and hopefully he plays well, and the U.S. hopefully does well, all of this is going to be forgotten. This isn't going to be something that is going to be a burr on the saddle of the team going through the World Cup.
All right. Well, the thing I followed that up, the reason I said emotional and I smiled is because I had my follow-up ready, because after the 23 playoffs, he got suspended for 6 games by MLS for saying some very derogatory things about Tim, the referee. So we went into that, and he talked about that he had mandated therapy by the league, but he said, sometimes accidents make it better, because he said he still sees the same therapist even after he,
Oh, good.
So
good.
He said he likes it, But yeah, Vanny's taking that's a coach's approach. If you're not in my environment, don't criticize my environment, because you're not here every day. You're not in film sessions. You don't know why we picked this player or this player. You don't know why we told Pulisic that he couldn't come in for the first 2, and that's it. So I hear that, because I haven't coached at near that level, but I've always said, but of course you get criticized. To whatever extent it is, parents, other players, other coaches, and I've tried to always hesitate to criticize the coaches if you're not.
And when it comes to Pochettino, okay, people have to realize they got to give this guy a chance to work. I mean, I've seen so many criticism and so many people just say he's not a good coach. He's in over his head. They never should have hired him.
What?
I mean, the guy's learning. Oh, God. The guy's learning about the players. Head? He's learning about the team. He's trying to see who works with who. He's figuring all this stuff out. Everybody who's criticizing, he should have. Yeah.
You've got to set. Who has said he doesn't know what he's doing?
I have a lot of people around me, not media, around me that are super fans and are just absolutely killing them. But all you have to do is go on social media and just read anything that on social media.
But that should be your response, Roberto. That should be your response to them. If you're not in the day-to-day environment, you have nothing to say. And I mean, look, he's been a successful club coach. Granted, he's never coached internationally, and that's a different animal. So is he learning some things? I'm sure he is along the way. But as far as saying he doesn't know what he's doing, come on, man. And then we've got a comment: Berhalter's firing was way past due. Give me a break. What did you think of his Berhalter comment that he got a raw deal?
There was a lot going on. I mean, now we can go back to what you're saying. If you don't know what's going on the inside, you really don't know. So there must have been stuff going on the inside there that they felt that he had. I always feel that when coaches get fired, the way that Berhalter got fired is that he sort of lost the locker room somewhere along the line. And
that's interesting. That's very interesting, because another thing,
that doesn't always come out. or
It's
you
not
know, there
necessarily.
was a set way of, or there was some sort of agreement of how the team was going to play, and who was going to play and how were they going to play and all that. And then he varied from that, and without success. So look, if you have a plan with your general manager, and this is the way we're going to do things, and you're all in agreement, and then you start tinkling and you start getting away from these things, and then you don't succeed when you do that, then you're putting yourself in trouble. And
Well, you could argue. I mean, succeed. So, what is success at that level? And I have a follow up on this because I also asked Vanny said it was the right move to remove. Basically, said they were in their right to sack him after the 24th season. But I'll get into that in a moment because I think it might relate. I don't think he lost the locker room. I think, Roberto, if you spend too much time with a team, and there are exceptions to this rule. Certainly Sir Alex Ferguson is one of them, is that the players they stop listening, because it's the same, they're hearing the same voice over and over again. And sometimes that's what you lose. And that's what Vanny said. Vanny said players that he could talk to last year or in 24 or 23 and have these deep conversations or they're responding to this and that, they weren't responding the next year because and he even said at one point, "Are you guys bored with me? Maybe I'm bored. Maybe I'm bored with me too." He used those words. So there might be some of that.
Sometimes that's why you need turnover, right? Because you need new voices in the locker room, and maybe there are some stale voices in the locker room that you need to change out to be able to be. Look, there's a lot of coaches that can succeed for very, very long periods of time. You have Sir Alex Ferguson with Manchester United as an example. Tuca Ferretti with Tigres was there in a league where they fire coaches after weeks. He was there for almost 10 years. You have Greg Popovich in the NBA with the San Antonio Spurs. That the only thing that stopped him from coaching, I think it's 17 straight years now, was a heart ailment or a stroke. And so you have... There are certain guys who don't lose the locker room.
Yeah, they're rare individuals, I think.
Yeah, there are certain guys. But most, I do understand what you're saying about voices becoming stale and things like that.
Yeah, no. And on the collegiate level, it's different because you got different players coming in, every year, and they help keep it fresh too. So it's not the same thing. But on the professional level, which is more what we're referring to here, soccer is a ridiculous sport. How guys get sacked, well before they're even given a chance to get their thing going.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. But Berhalter had a chance. But I really have a tough time with the harsh Berhalter critics because I do think he's a good coach. And look at his coaching tree in MLS, Roberto. Okay, BJ Callahan, Mikey Varis, MLS Coach of the Year right now. Mikey Varis, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Nico Estevez, who's got Austin, they're starting to get it done now a little bit. So when you talk to these guys, and I've talked to all of them, and their level of respect and understanding the influence that Berhalter had on them, their success is a reflection of Berhalter. So we'll see how it goes. Right now, Chicago Fire, if the season ended today, they would not be in the playoffs. So we can't sit here and say, "Woof, man, is he kicking ass at Chicago?" They're scoring.
Well, if we've been doing this podcast after they slaughtered DC United 7-0, maybe we would be.
So how about that? They lost to Nashville 7-2 and they beat DC United 7-1. I mean, they've conceded 7 in a game this year and they've scored 7 in a game this year. I mean,
it's wild. We have a starting lineup.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, are we ready?
Is Freese in there?
So Matt Freese is in goal.
All right.
This is in numerical order. I'm not going to try to place them on
That's
the field.
Okay. That's okay.
Okay, but here we go. Chris Richards, Jack McGlynn, Sebastian Berhalter, Diego Luna, Tim Ream, Luca de la Torre, Alex Freeman, Malik Tillman, Max Arfsten, and Patrick Ayemang. So it's very close to the same team that they fielded.
What's the difference? Ream didn't start the first game, did he?
No, he didn't. He came in. I said it's very close.
No, I'm that's why I'm trying to sort out who is starting that didn't. I said Tim Ream, right?
Yeah, Tim Ream didn't start.
Right.
Who started in center back in the last game? I'd have to look it up.
McKenzie, I think.
Yeah, correct. I believe that's accurate.
How about Patrick Agyemang? Top selling MLS jerseys. I know you saw this. I tell you, I could give two craps about this. I got to be honest with you, but
I know you can.
I did put it in here, and because I thought the number 9 overall jersey sold at MLS. We know Messi and Suarez are 1-2. We knew that was going to happen. Almiron, I'm sure all those were sold in Atlanta. He's number 3 before they even got the first kick. When they signed him, everybody went out and got their Miggy jerseys. Patrick Agyemang is 9th for Charlotte FC. I think that's wild. He's a popular figure in Charlotte. Apparently, I didn't realize he was that popular.
Yeah, Glenn, we got to make a correction. Tim Ream did start against Trinidad.
Okay,
it's the exact same lineup.
Oh, okay.
I don't see any changes.
Then Ream came in, I think, in the friend.
It was in the friendly before, yeah.
Yeah, because they were having. Yeah, he started the second half, I think, in that one.
Yeah. So it's Freeman on right back, Arfston on left back, Richards and Ream in the middle of defense, Berhalter and De La Torre holding 6'8", Luna, Tillman, and McGlynn, and then with Agyemang up front. And you know what? When you look at Agyemang, you go, oh, wow, he's a pretty big player. Then you see him against everybody else, right? When you start looking at him compared to other people on the field, and it is like, oh, my goodness, he is enormous. But it just isn't the fact that he's tall. He is a brute. He's sort of like a linebacker. He's like a linebacker in between wide receivers or short running backs.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable how strong he is.
Well, you should have seen me walking with him to the back of the hotel during preseason.
We couldn't see you because he blocked you. You did not exist.
He laughed. I said, do you mind? I called him Shorty. Really nice guy. He's got a great story because he went to a small Division III school called Eastern Connecticut State, right? And the only reason he got seen is during the pandemic. He started kicking it around with other division, other college players, some pros, even USL kind of players. They were just looking for a kick around. And a guy from Rhode Island said, "What are you doing playing Division III?" He goes, "I don't know. They accepted me." And so he transferred to Rhode Island, which is not a massive program, but it is Division I, and that's where he got recognized, and that's where he eventually got drafted. But honestly, if it wasn't for the pandemic, who knows where he would be, because he didn't know any better. His parents, I believe his parents were immigrants from Ghana, and they just got a job in that part of the country, and he just went to school. He's just like, he just went to school. And so, wow, that's so it's him, Haji Wright, and Brian White battling who's gonna keep playing that striker position. So if he has a game tonight, I think it's all his.
Yeah, for now, for sure. Anyway, Saudi Arabia is going to give the U.S. a much, much harder time than Trinidad.
I think you're right. I think you're right with that. Well, how about that? We had the U.S. men's national team preview, the live, right? This might have been the only live preview at this very moment during this last hour, where with a few NYC, MLS, and what Club World Cup stuff thrown in too. We got a lot of good stuff. We had it all.
And by the way, there's a lot of people. There's so much negativity around everything that's soccer. Oh, there's not enough people. Prices are too high. Look, I understand that, and not that they're wrong, but then people complaining about the quality of this and that the fields of this. There's so much negativity. I just have to say this: I'm enjoying the hell out of watching both competitions. And did you download the DAZN app, by the way? Because every game is on that.
Yeah, I've figured it out, and I have been watching. Yeah, while I'm typing on this computer, I'm watching on this computer, and it's
I put it on my Apple TV. I have it on my phone. I have it on my iPad. Whenever I am watching the game,
it's fun. It's fun seeing some of the former MLS players who are on some of these teams, like a Facundo Torres at Palmeiras, and then we got Santi Rodriguez, who will he get in for Botafogo tonight? Who knows, against PSG? That would be cool for him to play against PSG.
Absolutely. How did Seattle do, by the way? Because
they lost 3-1. So in Group B, they are in last place with no points. They're 0-2. And then it's Atleti, Botafogo, and PSG, all with 3 points. So that PSG is the heavy favorites there, but we'll see how that goes.
So what they need, I don't think they can. I don't know what they can do.
Well, if they win, they have to win their next.
For Botafogo to beat PSG.
Yeah.
Then they have to beat PSG, and Botafogo has to beat Atletico Madrid, and then Seattle's got to clobber PSG for them to have a chance to overcome the four goal difference or whatever they're going to have, or
it's a 7 goal difference right now. PSG. Yeah, it's they're all but gone. But we know Miami's in good position to advance, and then you've got LAFC's got to come through with a couple of wins here.
Yeah, they didn't play poorly, by the way. They lost 2-0, but they didn't play poorly. None of the MLS teams have played poorly. The Mexican teams have played well. Pachuca lost last night 2-1. They were in the game. Obviously, Monterrey tied their game against Inter. And what a debut for Dome Torrent.
Yeah.
How's that? By the way, here's your first game. You're playing Inter Milan. Good luck.
36% possession and a win. Or
no, they tied. 1-1
A tie.
Which feels like a win.
Well, maybe in this case.
I mean, they're the you have what is it? The UCL runner-ups.
Yeah.
Champions League runner-ups.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about how they got smoked, but they're the runner-ups.
Oh, and they had a lot of chances in that Monterrey match. It was crazy. But yeah, good stuff, Dome. All right, Matt Freese, everybody. So we got about an hour before kickoff. So all you City supporters, I'm sure will be tuned in to see how Matty Ice does against Saudi Arabia. All right, man.
It sounds good. So there's a lot of stuff. There's the NBA tonight, and then there's the U.S. national team. Yeah. Hopefully people in Austin were able to find cheaper tickets or something, and they fill the joint up. God, it's going to look awful with like 7,000 empty seats. Ugh.
Well, I would like to publicly thank Oklahoma City for beating Indiana by more than 11 points in Game 2 of the final, because I happened to be at the sports book at Monmouth Park and put a couple of little Bilskis down for that one, and it was great. So I bought dinner that night. There you go.
There you go. Good. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Enjoy the game, everybody. For Roberto, I'm Glenn. We'll be back next week at some point. I don't know when yet, but we'll let you know ahead of time. And, we try to stick with these Thursdays, and that's when the club will have training leading into their match at Montreal on June the 28th. So our expectation is we may be able to hunt you down for a Thursday night affair. But for now, thanks for being with us, and enjoy the game tonight, everybody. See you.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.